The junkyard whispers. The rain had stopped, but the junkyard still smelled like wet rust and oil. Jack wiped his hands with a dirty cloth and stepped outside his workshop. It was late. The sky was dark. The only sound was the wind blowing over. Piles of broken machines, but then he heard something. A whisper. Soft. Strange. Not the wind. Something else. He froze. Listened again. There it was. A rustle, a tiny breath, then a sharp sniffle, like someone crying. Jack picked up his flashlight and stepped toward the sound. He moved carefully over the junk, broken hover cars, rusted robot arms, tangled wires. His boots splashed in shallow puddles, his heart beat faster. "Hello?" he called out. "Anyone there?" No answer. He turned a corner near an old cargo pod and froze. A small figure darted behind a pile of scrap. It was fast. Too small to be an adult. Jack lifted the flashlight. The beam caught something. A thin tail, a patch of pale skin and wide, frightened eyes. It wasn't human. Jack raised his hand slowly. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you." The little alien girl didn't speak. She just stared at him, shaking. Her clothes were torn, her face dirty. Her skin had a soft blue glow and her hair was tangled and long. Then she turned and ran. "Wait!" Jack followed carefully. He didn't want to scare her more. She ran through the maze of junk like she knew it well. But she was weak. Her legs wobbled. She stopped near a broken ship shell. Then she dropped to her knees beside something, or someone. Jack stepped closer and gasped. A second alien. An adult woman, lying still on the ground, pale, breathing slow, eyes closed. The girl clutched her tightly. Her small body covered the woman protectively. "She's your mother?" Jack asked softly. The girl didn't reply. She just looked at him, tears in her glowing eyes. Jack crouched down. The woman looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Her skin had cuts. One arm was bandaged with what looked like an old seatbelt. She was burning with fever. "They dumped you here, didn't they?" Jack whispered. The girl's lips trembled. She looked away. Jack opened his jacket and took out a wrapped energy bar. He placed it on the ground and stepped back. The girl looked at it, then at him. "It's yours," he said, gently. She slowly reached out, grabbed it, and took small bites, chewing like she hadn't eaten in days. Jack looked around. The junkyard was full of hiding places, but this corner had extra cover, rusted walls leaning together like a cave. They must have been living here. But why here? And why alone? Jack took off his jacket and folded it. He gently placed it under the woman's head. The girl didn't stop him this time. Her hands were shaking. "I'm Jack," he said. "You don't have to be scared." The girl didn't answer. He looked at the mother. "She needs help. I can take her to my workshop. I have heat, clean water, medicine." Still silence. Jack stood up. "I'll be back in 5 minutes. Stay here, please." Back at his workshop, Jack grabbed a thermal blanket, a first aid kit, and his old hover sled. As he returned, lightning flashed in the far sky. When he reached the spot, the girl was still there, still holding her mother. Jack laid the blanket over the woman, then gently lifted her onto the sled. She was so light, too light. The girl followed quietly, not speaking a word. Inside the workshop, Jack cleared a space and set the woman down. He gave her clean water drops and used a scanner from his old med kit. The results made his jaw clench. Dehydration, malnutrition, internal bruising. How long had they been like this? He turned to the girl. "What's your name?" She looked at her mother, then at him. "Zira," she said softly. It was the first word she had spoken. Jack smiled. "Zira. That's a beautiful name." She lowered her head, shy. He handed her a towel. "You can clean your face. There's food over there. Real food." Zira stepped toward it slowly, like she couldn't believe it was real. Jack turned off the main lights, letting the room glow softly with warm yellow lamps. As he watched her sit near her mother, eating carefully, Jack felt something inside him shift. He didn't know who they were. He didn't know why they had been left to die in a junkyard. But he did know one thing. He wasn't going to let them die. Not on his watch. A bed of rust and hope. The workshop was quiet. Just the soft hum of Jack's old heater and the gentle sound of breathing. Zira sat curled in the corner, a blanket around her shoulders. Her big eyes watched her mother sleep. The alien woman, Leia, was still pale, still weak, but breathing better now. Jack had managed to lower her fever, and she wasn't shaking anymore. Jack leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching both of them. He hadn't meant for this to happen. He just went out to check a noise. And now, a strange child had taken shelter in his life and brought her dying mother with her. Morning came slow and gray. Jack stood outside the workshop with a hot mug of recaf in his hands. He stared at the junkyard stretching wide before him. Once it was just trash. Now it was home to two lives that had nearly ended in silence. He turned around and walked to the back of his yard. Behind the power shed, there was an old hover trailer, half broken, but still strong. It had metal walls, an empty water tank, and space inside. Jack opened it and looked around. This could be something, he whispered. A bed, a roof, a real home. Not just a workshop floor. Zira stepped out hours later, blinking at the sunlight. Jack noticed her. Sleep okay? She nodded once. Her face was cleaner now, and her hair combed into two messy braids. She still looked tired, but not terrified. He smiled. Come with me. I want to show you something. She followed him slowly to the trailer. I used to use this for scrap hauling, Jack said, but I think it can be better than that now. Zira tilted her head. For us? Jack scratched his beard. If you want. If you and your mom stay a while, you'll need a real place. Zira looked at the trailer, then at Jack. Why? He blinked. Why what? Why help us? Everyone else saw us and turned away. Jack was quiet. He looked over the junkyard. Maybe, because I've been alone too, he said. I know what it feels like. Zira didn't say anything, but her eyes softened. Jack handed her a wrench. Want to help me build it? They started small. Jack removed the broken control panels. Zira helped hold the wires. Together they swept out the dust, lined the floor with old rubber mats, and patched the holes in the walls. Jack found an unused solar panel and installed it on the roof. At night they added a light. It flickered at first, then glowed steady. Zira clapped softly. Her face lit up, not just from the lamp, but from hope. Back in the workshop, Leia opened her eyes for the first time in 2 days. Jack rushed over. You're awake, he said softly. Leia tried to sit, but groaned. Easy, Jack said. You're safe. You've been here since the night I found you in the junkyard. She looked around, then at her daughter sitting beside her. Zira smiled. Mama, this is Jack. He helped us. Leia stared at him with confusion. You helped us? Jack nodded. I'm no doctor, but I had supplies. You're lucky to be alive. Leia swallowed. We were left to die. We hid when the raiders came, but they found us. Said we knew too much. We escaped. Barely. Her voice cracked. Jack frowned. Know too much? About what? Leia shook her head weakly. I can't say. Not yet. It's dangerous. Jack didn't press her. Not now. But a part of him suddenly felt cold. If they were hunted, was he now in danger too? That night, Jack sat on the roof of the workshop. He looked out at the stars. He had built machines his whole life, repaired ships, salvaged wrecks, survived on nothing but junk. But now he was building something different. Not just a shelter of steel, a home of trust, a second chance. For a mother, a daughter, And maybe, just maybe, for himself. But deep down, Jack couldn't shake one thought. If someone had left them to die, would they come back to finish the job? Secrets. Under the scrap, it started with a small hum. Jack was digging deep in the back of the junkyard looking for soft insulation foam for the trailer walls. His hands were dirty, sleeves rolled up. Zara sat nearby, sorting small wires by color, just like he had taught her. Then he heard it again, a soft hum, low, metallic, vibrating under his boots. He paused. It wasn't coming from a machine. It was coming from under the ground. Jack knelt and pushed aside a bent satellite plate. Beneath it, hidden in mud and wires, was a smooth black case, not rusted, not old, almost untouched. Zara stood up. "What is that?" Jack shook his head. "That doesn't belong here." He pulled the box out. It was warm. Back inside his workshop. He cleaned the case and looked for a latch. There was no handle, no buttons, just a small glowing line along the center. He tapped it. Click. The case opened silently. Inside was something he didn't expect. A memory crystal, clear, high grade, and coated with a seal Jack had seen once before, from the Intergalactic Peace Commission. He froze. Zara stepped closer. "Is it dangerous?" Jack stared at the crystal. "Only if the wrong people want it." He put it back, shut the case, and locked it inside an old tool locker. Later that night, after Leia had eaten and fallen asleep again, Jack and Zara sat on the trailer steps under a sky full of stars. "Did you ever fix a whole ship?" Zara asked. Jack chuckled. "Once, big one, got paid in fuel and chocolate bars." Zara smiled, but then her eyes grew serious. "You found something today, didn't you?" Jack looked at her. "Smart girl." "I did," he admitted. "But I need to ask your mother about it first." Zara's shoulders dropped. "She won't tell you. She thinks you'll send us away if you know the truth." Jack was quiet. "Do you believe that?" Zara looked at him, her voice soft. "No. You gave us light, and warmth, and bread. You don't look like someone who sends people away." Jack's throat tightened. He looked away. The stars blinked overhead. He knew now. This wasn't just a rescue story. It was the beginning of something bigger. The next morning, while Zara cleaned a broken heater, Jack went to speak to Leia. She was sitting up now, wrapped in a blanket, watching the door like she was expecting danger. Jack pulled a chair close. "I found something in the yard," he said quietly. "A sealed box, inside it, a Peace Commission crystal." Leia's face turned pale. "You opened it?" "Yes." Her hands trembled. Jack leaned in. "Leia, what's on it?" She closed her eyes. "Evidence. From my last mission. I was part of a med team. We were sent to treat a wounded village after a border attack. But what we found there," she swallowed, "they weren't victims. They were experiments. Civilians, tested on, burned, cut, marked. My team tried to report it. Most were silenced. I ran." Jack sat back, stunned. "And the crystal?" "It holds footage, names, locations, proof. The raiders weren't pirates. They were military, hiding their crimes. If that crystal gets out, there'll be trials, executions, power shifts." She met his eyes. "They'll kill anyone who has it." Jack stood and walked to the window. His fists were tight. "And they left you in my junkyard, hoping no one would ever notice." Leia nodded. "We hid there. They tracked us halfway across the desert. My body was breaking down. I told Zara to run if I didn't wake up." Jack turned. "She didn't run." Leia smiled sadly. "She's brave, like her father." Jack looked at her. "We can't keep this hidden forever." "I know," she said, "but I don't want Zara to grow up running." Jack looked out over the junkyard again, and in that moment, he made a choice. That evening, Jack and Zara started clearing a deeper space under the trailer, a place to hide the crystal. Safe, shielded. But just as they finished, Jack noticed something, a blinking red light. On one of the broken drone arms they hadn't touched yet. He grabbed it, turned it over, and saw it, a tracker still active. Still sending signals. His heart sank. They had been found. The first nail of their new home. Jack stared at the blinking red light on the broken drone part. It was small, faint, easy to miss, but very real, and very dangerous. "Zara," he called, trying to stay calm. She came running, her hands dirty with old wire grease. "What's wrong?" Jack turned the device in his hand. This was active. Someone was tracking it. Her eyes widened. "Did they find us?" Jack didn't answer. His mind was already racing. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat at his workbench, disassembling the drone chip and rewiring the old signal jammer he hadn't used in years. Zira sat nearby, watching him quietly. Leia slept in the trailer, still too weak to help, but resting better than before. Jack connected the final wires. The jammer buzzed softly, then went silent. "It's working," he said. "We've bought some time." Zira looked worried. "But they know we're here now." Jack nodded. "That's why we're not just building a home anymore." She tilted her head. "Then what are we building?" Jack looked her in the eye. "A fortress." At sunrise, the work began. Jack dug trenches around the trailer using an old scrap loader. Zira helped hammer metal sheets into the ground, sharpened, at the top like old-world spikes. They installed alarm wires across the yard. Jack taught her how to hook batteries to salvaged stun rods and place them beneath the stairs. For the first time, Zira didn't ask why. She understood. This wasn't just about living anymore. This was about staying alive. By evening, they had reinforced the trailer's outer wall with extra scrap armor. Jack installed an old solar cannon on the roof, rusted but still fired short bursts. Inside, the crystal was hidden deep under the floor, surrounded by lead mesh and power shields. Even a scan wouldn't pick it up now. Jack looked at his work. It was ugly, sharp, cold, but safe. Leia stepped out of the trailer that night. She walked slowly, leaning on the wall. She saw the spikes, the wires, the cannon above her head, and her eyes welled up. "You did all this. For us?" Jack wiped sweat from his brow. "It's not perfect, but it'll slow them down." Leia stepped closer. "You could have left. You could have handed us over." Jack looked away. "I don't leave people behind. Not again." There was silence between them. Then Leia spoke softly. "You've lost someone." Jack nodded. "A long time ago. A girl. Bright. Smart. She trusted the wrong people. I couldn't save her." He looked at Zira, sitting on the trailer steps with grease on her face. "But maybe I can save someone else now." That night the air felt heavier. Jack knew. They were coming. Around midnight the wind picked up. The junk creaked and groaned. Jack sat by the motion tracker, eyes fixed on the blinking green lights. Suddenly, one turned yellow, then red. Movement. South side. Jack stood and loaded the cannon. Zira woke instantly. "They're here?" "Maybe just scouts," Jack said. "Stay inside. Lock the hatch." She nodded but didn't move. Outside, shadows crept between the scrap towers. Jack watched through night vision goggles. Then he saw them. 3 figures. Cloaked. Armed. Moving like they'd done this before. Jack whispered into the comlink. "They're not junk hunters. They're trained." He waited until the first one stepped over the buried stun rod. Zap! The man dropped with a scream. The others jumped, but Jack hit the switch. Floodlights exploded across the yard, blinding them. "Go back," he shouted. "This is your only warning." The second figure fired a plasma round at the trailer. It hit the outer scrap wall, but didn't break through. Zira screamed inside. Jack aimed the cannon. Boom! The shockwave sent both attackers flying into a pile of old engines. One didn't get up. The other crawled away. Fast. Then silence. Jack waited another full hour before lowering the cannon. They were gone. For now. At dawn, Zira peeked out and saw him standing alone in the middle of the yard, watching the horizon. She walked to him slowly. "You saved us." Jack looked down at her. "No," he said. "We saved each other." The stranger who smelled metal, it was quiet again. Too quiet. After the attack, Jack had doubled the alarms, added more junk to block the gates, and never stepped outside without a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. But 3 days passed. No signs. No shadows. Still, Jack didn't relax. He knew silence wasn't safety. That morning, Zira was fixing a broken fan near the trailer. Jack was up on the roof, scanning the horizon with his scope. Then, he saw movement. A figure walked toward the junkyard entrance alone, calm, no weapon in hand. Just a long coat blowing in the wind and a metal walking stick tapping the ground. The alarms didn't go off, because he walked in like he belonged. Jack came down fast, blaster hidden in his belt. Zira looked up. "Who is it?" "Don't know," Jack said. "Stay close." The man reached the gate and stopped. Tall, gray-skinned, bald head covered with tiny implants. His yellow eyes were strange, bright like a scanner scanning everything. He smiled. "Nice place," he said. "Warm metal smell, fresh welds. Someone's been busy." Jack didn't smile back. "What do you want?" The man held up both hands. "Easy, friend. Just a merchant. Name's Vex. Heard a human was building something in the scraplands. Figured I'd take a look. Maybe trade." "Trade what?" Vex opened his coat. Inside were rows of items. Batteries, tools, data chips, even small weapons. Zira's eyes went wide. "Whoa." Jack stepped in front of her. "We don't need anything." Vex tilted his head. "Pity. Thought I smelled something rare in the air. Something official. Military grade even." Jack's eyes narrowed. He knew. Or at least he guessed. "Just old junk," Jack said. "Same as everywhere." Vex chuckled. "Junk can be interesting if you know where to look." His eyes moved past Jack, toward the trailer, toward Leia. Jack moved closer. "Not for sale, not for trade." Vex met his eyes. "Not even for information?" Jack didn't blink. Especially not. For a moment, neither moved. Then Vex smiled again. "Well, can't blame a man for asking." He turned as if to leave, but added, "If anyone else comes looking, tell them Vex already asked, and tell them." He walked away. He tapped his cane twice on the ground. A soft pulse buzzed through the dirt. Then he walked off. Calm. Slow. Like he already had what he needed. As soon as he was gone, Jack shut the yard gates and activated every lock. Zira stood behind him. "He scared me." Jack nodded. "Me too." That night, Jack pulled the memory crystal from its hiding place and hooked it to a viewer. Lines of encrypted data flowed across the screen. Names, places, videos, and one video made his blood freeze. Vex, not. Just a merchant, a former Peace Commission enforcer, turned bounty hunter, and worse, he was listed as untraceable, meaning he didn't take orders anymore. He took payments. Leia sat up in bed, her face pale. "Vex came here?" Jack nodded. "He said he was a traitor." Leia closed her eyes. "If he saw me, he'll come back. Not alone next time." Zira clutched her mother's arm. "What do we do?" Jack stared at the screen. "Prepare." He stayed, up all night reinforcing the trailer. He added a smoke release system to blind any future attackers. He programmed the cannon to auto-lock on moving heat. But the most important change? He built a second escape hatch under the trailer, one that led to an old tunnel system beneath the junkyard. It had been sealed for years, but he reopened it. He lit it with small glow sticks and showed it to Zira and Leia. "If I tell you to run," Jack said, "you run here. No questions. Understand?" They both nodded. The next evening, Zira sat beside Jack as he sharpened scrap into spikes. She was quiet. Then she whispered, "Are we going to lose this home?" Jack stopped. He looked at the sky, at the old trailer, at the light coming from its window, then at her. "No," he said. "Not without a fight." The truth. Leia never told thunder rolled far in the distance. But it wasn't a storm Jack feared. It was what followed Vex. The junkyard was quiet again, but too much had changed. Jack had built defenses, escape tunnels, traps. He was ready but what for? What was worth all this? He needed answers, real ones, and only one person had them. Leia sat in the trailer, her legs weak, her hands trembling, but her mind sharp as ever. Jack sat across from her, a metal table between them. The memory crystal sat on it like a sleeping bomb. Jack finally asked, "What's really on this crystal?" Leia looked at it for a long time. Then she said quietly, "Not just war crimes, not just secrets." Jack leaned forward. "Then what?" She took a shaky breath. "It's a kill list." Jack froze. "A what?" Leia nodded. "Names of powerful beings, generals, scientists, officials, people who ordered the destruction of entire colonies, people who ran illegal experiments on civilians, including children. The Peace Commission made that list, but someone inside wanted it buried." She looked at Jack, eyes full of pain. "They told us to delete it. My team refused, so they killed them. I escaped." Jack felt sick. "You've been carrying that?" Leia touched her chest. "It's not just data. It's proof. Voice logs, video, blood reports, everything. If this gets out, those monsters lose their power. They'll be hunted instead of feared." Jack stood up, pacing, "And they'd rather burn the whole planet than let it leak." Leia nodded. "That's why they sent Vex." Outside, Zira was planting a motion beacon with a scrap hammer when she heard a strange chirp. She froze. Looked around. Another drone. Small. Silent. Watching her. She grabbed a nearby metal pipe and swung hard. Crack. It fell in pieces, but too late. It had already sent something. Back inside, Zira burst in. "Another drone, I broke it, but..." Jack grabbed his scanner, red signal, moving fast. He swore under his breath. "They're coming again." Leia stood with effort. "Jack, you have to run. Take Zira, leave me. You don't understand." "I understand more than you think," Jack growled. "And I don't leave family behind." She blinked. "Family?" He faced her. "You didn't choose to bring this here, but I'm choosing to protect it. And you." That night, Jack packed emergency rations, charged every defense unit, and gave Zira a stun blade for her belt. She didn't cry. She stood tall, like a warrior, like her mother. Hours later, something crashed near the east wall, a metal ball, hissing, spinning. Smoke exploded everywhere. The cannon fired automatically. Jack ran toward the gate. Boom! The blast knocked him back. A dark shape stepped through the smoke. Not Vex. Bigger, armor-plated, no face, just glowing red eyes. An execution unit. Jack's eyes widened. "This isn't a bounty anymore," he whispered. "This is a kill order." Back inside, Leia looked at the crystal one last time. She took out a tiny metal chip from her pocket, hidden all this time, and pressed it against the crystal. The screen blinked. "Upload sequence begun," she whispered. "They'll come for me. But the truth will go further." Jack fought hard. Hit traps, fired rounds, burned half the fence, but the unit kept coming. Then it stopped, looked at the trailer, raised its arm. Missile ready. Jack screamed, "No!" He ran, too late. Whoosh! The missile shot. Inside, Zira grabbed her mother. "Come on, the tunnel." But Leia didn't move. She placed the crystal deep into the escape capsule and slammed it shut. "Take it. Go. Don't look back." Zira's eyes filled with tears. "Mama!" But Leia pushed her. "Go!" The floor hatch opened. Zira vanished into the dark tunnel, just as fire swallowed the trailer. Above. Home is not made of steel. A lone fire lit up the sky. The explosion shook the junkyard. Scrap metal flew. Sparks rained like falling stars. Jack's ears rang. His heart pounded. He ran through smoke, calling, "Zira!" No answer. He searched the rubble with bare hands, burning, bleeding. The trailer was gone. All that remained was twisted metal and black ash. For a moment, he thought they were both gone. But then, a hatch creaked open. From beneath the earth, Zira crawled out, covered in soot, clutching a small case. Jack dropped to his knees. She threw her arms around him. Tears, smoke, and relief mixed into one long breath. Inside the case was the memory crystal, untouched, and next to it, a chip with a blinking green light. Jack picked it up. Zira whispered. She started the upload. Before it hit, she told me not to stop. Jack stared at the blinking light. It was slow. Too slow. He understood. The transmission was incomplete, and the signal was being jammed. They hadn't won yet. Jack led Zira into the old tunnel beneath the yard. It ran far, toward the abandoned comms tower outside the zone. He had buried it years ago. Now, it was their last hope. Zira walked behind him, quiet and strong, but when they stopped for water, she asked the question that hurt the most. "Is my mother gone?" Jack looked at her and said the truth. "I think she gave her life, so everyone else could know the truth." Zira didn't cry. She nodded once and kept walking. The tower was broken, tilted, but not dead. Jack rewired the base, used scrap batteries, and climbed the rusted ladder with Zira's help. At the top, he connected the chip. The signal blinked, red, then green. Upload complete. Across the stars, across systems, and into neutral channels. The truth spread like wildfire. War files, footage, voice logs, IDs, locations. It reached rebel groups, Peace Watch stations, and secret channels. And the name Leia was whispered like a spark in the dark. Days later, a small ship landed at the edge of the junkyard. Zira stepped out first. Jack followed. Both were tired, hungry, bruised, but they were not hiding anymore. The pilot bowed. "You're the human who sheltered the truth." Jack didn't speak. The pilot looked at Zira. "And you are the voice of your mother's message. They're listening." Finally. A week later, the scrapyard was full again, but this time not with junk. Volunteers, builders, survivors. People who believed in Leia's cause. People who wanted a safe place, and Jack? He picked up his hammer again. Not to build walls this time, but to build homes. One afternoon, Zira sat on the new trailer steps, watching the sun go down. Jack joined her. She said softly, "This place used to be cold and broken." Jack smiled. "And now?" Zira looked around at the lights, the people, the laughter. "Now it's alive." She looked at Jack. "Because you didn't walk away." Jack looked at her. This brave little alien girl who had once cried in the shadows of trash. "You saved me too, kid," he said. "I just didn't know it." The wind blew across the yard, but it no longer whispered sadness. Now it carried a story, the story of a mother who risked everything, a child who refused to run, and a human who built a home, not from steel, but from courage, love, and fire. The end.